Neural Amp Modeler, or NAM for short, is an open source piece of technology that can capture or profile your guitar amps. If you've ever used the Kemper, Quad Cortex, or ToneX, this is pretty much the same concept, except this one is open source and free. Yo everyone, welcome to Amps, Pedals and Pickups. My name's Nathan. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about NAM, everything to do with NAM, the FAQs. I see the same sorts of questions all the time about how to get it up and running, what's the best sample rate to run things at, where do you download captures, how do you do your own captures, tons of questions. So we're going to go through a bunch of things to get you up and running with NAM. I'm also going to be doing a couple captures on my EVH5153 here that I've got there. I think what a good little example we can do for now is I'll just roll some of the sounds coming out of the EVH5153. This is going into a load box. I'm playing some IRs in my DAW. Let's have a listen to the 5153 and then we'll get into all the questions about NAM. A little bit of trolling, a little bit of fun there, but yeah, look, the NAM captures sound dead onto the amps. We'll do a little bit of A/B comparisons when I do the captures later, but let's take a look at NAM, just talk through the basics of everything. So I've already told you what NAM is. It's an open source, free capturing profiling solution, very similar to the Kemper or Quad Cortex and ToneX. So the very basic concept of how NAM works is there's an audio training file, a wave file, and what you do is you pump that through your guitar amp, and you know, different amps are going to have different gain staging, different volume, different EQs, all these different characteristics. So you take this wave file, put it through your guitar amp, and you're obviously going to have an output file. And then what you do is you take those two files, you pump them into NAM, and based on machine learning and neural networks, it figures out how to take this file and turn it into this one. And that is what we call a capture file. So that whole side of things, let's call that the training side of things. That's where you want to take your gear and you want to make your own capture of your gear. That's one thing that NAM can do. The other thing is play back those captures. So if you don't want to capture any of your gear, or if you're not too interested, or if you don't even have any of your own gear, but you want to play other people's captures, the good news is it's totally easy to get that done. All right, so I've just loaded up Reaper here. We've got one track. I've loaded up NAM. So like I said, you just need to download and install NAM like any other VST. And when you load it up, it looks like this. I already have a capture here loaded, but we'll pull it up. So you just go here to load a capture. You know, I've downloaded these off ToneHunt. This is Drew's captures. He's done a fantastic job with the 5153 LBX with a duality. We'll just choose the red. I don't have an IR or an impulse response loaded, and let's see what it sounds like. Sweet mush. It's very fizzy. You need an IR. Now, if you've used guitar software, you know what IRs are. If you really don't know what an IR is, there's heaps of videos out there. It's basically just the speaker cabinet part of a guitar chain. So with nothing, that's what you sound like. So if yours sound like that, that means you're not using an IR. I'm using an IR loader here, or it's really an IR pack. It's GGD Calis. I'll leave a link to those below. So you don't need to use these. There's tens, hundreds, there's millions of thousands of free IRs on the internet. You don't have to buy them, but there are very good IRs out there that you can purchase. And this is just a piece of software that has, you know, a bunch of IRs inside it. This is GGD Cali cabs, and I like to use this Nolly down with the thickness preset. So now that I've got my speaker cabinet loaded after the amp, this is what the signal chain sounds like. Now, when we talk about getting your hands on these NAMM capture files, just remember that NAMM is an open source project. So it's not like Kemper where there's just like one avenue for Kemper profiles or Quad Cortex or anything like that. These files can be scattered across the internet. You know, somebody can just set up their own personal website and have NAMM captures. They could be in like random repositories, different places. But the two biggest places I found to get your hands on NAMM captures is the official Facebook group. That's sort of where like the real big seed of the movement started going, and there's tons of captures there. But it's a Facebook group and it's not really sorted the best way. Now, a bunch of guys came together and wanted to build a website. There's actually a few sites out there because, like I said, it's open source, and really you could go out there and make your own website. Anyone can do this stuff, it's open source. But a few guys came together and they built ToneHunt, and that's what I've got here on screen. And you can see here they have a nice little thing at the top here, like 2200 models. You know, this thing only launched like a couple weeks ago and it's just filling up like crazy. You don't need me to like walk your hand through basic navigation, but just search by popular. If you want to like search for 5150, just come in here, look at the different captures. You can see the ones from Drew. If I go to my favorites, if you like something, just favorite it. I can quickly just recall my different favorites. I think I had some from Wawa, man. Yeah, the Tone King Imperial, that was a really good pack. So if you like something, favorite it, download it, check it all out. ToneHunt, really good resource for getting your hands on captures. All right, so this next section here, I'm going to talk you through capturing a tone. I know I have to wear the headphones for this because I really want to listen to the guitar sound as I'm dialing it in. I've straightened out the red channel on the 5153, and we're going to dial it in from scratch. All right, so on the green channel here, I've left the gain as is and the volume there and the presence. I pretty much know that they're in a good spot. So we're just going to dial in a quick tone using the 3 EQ tone stack here. I would probably spend a little bit more time than this, but just for the sake of running the video through and showing you the process from start to finish, we'll just dial it in quickly. So let's flick over to the red channel. And let's just quickly dial something that sounds good. My general methodology to this is I'll just sweep the tone knobs, and if it improves the sound, then I'll keep it. If it doesn't improve the sound, then I'll try and find something that actually works. So let's see what it sounds like, and you'll see me do a bunch of movement over here. There we go, that's a pretty good usable tone. We'll just leave things as is and we'll move over to Reaper and look at how to reamp through these settings. All right, so now that we've dialed in the amp, we're gonna look at capturing your own tone. And unless you have a perfectly dialed in reamping chain, I would definitely suggest just doing this quick little thing that I'm doing. So you can see here, I've got 2 tracks. The top one, or the orange one, is where I record the DI sound, and then the blue one is the amp sound coming through. The amp sound, you know, you can see it's massive there. The DI has all that sort of dynamic information. So what I've quickly done is I've copied the DI signal to over here, and this red one is my reamping chain. I'm just going to copy this onto my red track, which is my reamp. So the red track is actually sending out of my interface through my reamp box, through my chain, but it's coming back as the DI. So I'm just going to record it. I've got it armed. Let's record it and see how it comes back like. Now when I look at that, I can see that my levels, they're set pretty well. When you look at the top versus the bottom, they're pretty much identical. That's where you want things sitting when you reamp things. You don't want things sounding super undergained. Like if this wave file was coming back like that, then you're not going to have enough power when you're hitting the amp. It's going to sound a little bit limp, a little bit weak, and things just aren't in their optimal settings. I already have this gear dialed in to sound really good and calibrated as per Ed's videos, so I know they're sitting in a good spot, but I just wanted to show you that's a good little test to run. All right, so now that I've got my amp dialed in, I've got all my levels set properly, we're good to go now. So this red file here, this is the V111 NAMM training file. I'll leave a link to that below. You can download it from the GitHub, I think, or there's a few different places you can get it from. But this is the WAV file that you're going to be reamping, sending through your amp. It's a whole bunch of jargon information, but it's a very good training file that sort of picks up all the characteristics of your amp. Let's just record it, and then we'll have a look at the file once it's all completed. All right, there we go. So we finally got our finished training file. Let's just take a quick listen to the garbage that it creates. Cool stuff. So obviously, the whole piece of technology is going to use this to sort of figure out how to make our original file sound like this file, and that's going to create the NAM capture. So the next thing we want to do is we want to export this file, this one that we just reamped. This is going to be the amp with the right settings and everything. So I'm just going to do this. Now you have to make sure that you're at the right length. If you go too long, it's going to stuff things up. You just have to make sure that it's at the perfect length with the other one. I set up this project in 120, everything lines up nicely. So just get that going. I've also soloed this track, and I will make sure there's no plugins. So I had the IR there that's disabled, so we can just render this out now. One thing I forgot to mention is that NAM right now is in 48K. So if you're in 44.1, it's just best to make things work in 48K. Things will physically work in 44.1, but they won't work optimally. You might run into problems. Don't even bother, just get into 48 until 44.1 is officially supported. So I'm running my whole session in 48. You can see 48K up the top here. Now, when you export your reamped file, it has to be a WAV file, 24-bit PCM, and it also has to be in mono. So I'm soloing this track. It's the only thing that's going to export. I'm just exporting it to this directory, 5153 video capture, and everything looks good. Just render this bad boy out. Okay, so once we go through all that, we got the V111 original training file as well as the reamped file that I've done for this little test that I've done here. Now, in terms of training, there's two different ways you can do training. You can either do it locally on your machine, or you can do it through Google Colab. Huge shout out to Jason Zdora. He has videos to set up both of these. I really do not have time to set these up with you. So I'll link them below. I personally use the local training method. I don't use the Google Colab method. The Google Colab one is arguably a little bit easier to use. I find the local training easy to use because I'm a bit of a nerd. I like that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to jump in to do the training, and then we'll check out the results. All right, so I've just fired up my local instance of NAM. This is what the GUI looks like. I'm just going to choose my input audio, which is the training file, so V111. The output audio, which is the reamped tone that we just did, so this 5153 video capture. The training destination that I want to set it to, I'll just pop it here into the raw directory, that's fine. I always just do silent run, that works great. Now this next one is where you can select the quality. I like to just set things to 400. That's where I've been doing all my captures. You can set it to like 1,000, 2,000. You can set it to whatever you want to do, but you really do get diminishing returns. I found 400 is like more than adequate. Some people do 100, 200. Some people do 600, 1,000. It's really up to you. And the delay is the delay compensation for the training file. So you can either line things up on a sample by sample thing, or you can just let NAM do its thing. Honestly, I just leave the delay as null. Everything's been working fine for me. So one little tip, don't use a noise gate when you're doing the reamping. There are things you can do to reduce the noise, but if you use a noise gate, it really messes with the transient, and when it tries to line up the file, things just don't work. Trust me, I spent a day messing with this stuff. So don't use a noise gate, and then you don't have to touch the delay. Everything works great. So 400, leave the delay at null, set it to silent run, hit train, and if everything's set up right, we should start seeing the Matrix nerd screen start training. So you can see here it's on epoch 1, epoch 2. I'm actually going to set a timer. Got my timer running on my watch. I'm not going to bore you with this process. Let's see how long it takes to do 400 epochs. All right, so it's just finished a minute ago. I stopped my stopwatch. It's on 18 minutes and 15 seconds. On this same rig here, when I do a ToneX capture on advanced, it's about 35 to 45 minutes. So yeah, 18 minutes, less than half the time at 400 epochs, which is a very, very good epoch rating for this stuff. Now, when you look here, I've got the NAM file. So this is going to be the NAM file that I load into NAM inside of Reaper or whatever DAW that you're using. Now you actually get what's called a ESR file, which is just, it shows you how well the train did. This ESR of 0.007 is very, very good. The lower that number, that means the closest that the prediction and the target has matched. So this, in theory, should be a very good match. Even if you have like 0.050, 0.060, I've had captures with those that sound really, really good. 20 10. Honestly, I think 07. I've actually 007. I've never had one this low. So let's check it out in the DAW and see how good it sounds. All right, so we're back here in Reaper, and my blue channel is the amp channel. The orange is the DI. You can see here I've loaded up NAM with the capture that I've just done. I've got the same IRs after. And just to show you that this is actually the amp and there's no wizardry going on or anything, I'm going to change it over to the clean channel. That's because I don't want to touch any of the amp settings, because if I move something, then it's not going to be like for like. Let's move it over to the red setting. All right, let's play our capture. Let's see how well this came across. Let's record, and then we can A/B things a little bit better. So I'm recording the amp as well as my DI. Let's check it out. All right, so here's the final test, the proof in the pudding. Let's check it out. So I've got my two files here. This is the DI. So if I just mute this stuff, that's what my DI sounds like when I chuck NAM and the IR on there. And then we'll listen to the amp. Those are dead on. There's not even like a little bit of interpretation of like you really have to stretch your ears to hear that things are sounding great. That is like perfect in my books. As far as capturing goes, as far as I'm aware, that's a better capture than a Kemper. Far better than the mileage I was getting on ToneX. I haven't used the Quad Cortex, so I can't compare that. But a lot of people saying that this is better than the Quad Cortex. But man, I don't even care about all that stuff. I don't care. I just have a system here with Neural Amp Modeler where I can dial in an amp, run it through my chain, do the training locally on my PC, 18 minutes, and I can get a perfect replica of an amp. That is some crazy stuff here. A bit of a longer video there, but you know, you should be acquainted with everything with Neural Amp Modeler now. You know, it can seem like this really big thing at first, but when you break things down, they're actually pretty simple and straightforward. Like, I know most people just want to install NAM on their computer, download captures, you know, just go to ToneHunt, download captures, fire them up on your computer. Don't forget to chuck an IR in there. Things take 2 seconds, the captures sound great, and you're good to go. So look, just to recap everything, we've gone over what NAM is. You should know what Neural Amp Modeler is by now. You know how to install it on your computer. You know how to fire it up inside of your DAW. You know how to load a NAM file. You know how to download a NAM file off of ToneHunt. You know how to chuck an IR in there, whether it's some sort of IR software or a single IR file. There's many free IRs out there. Also showed you how to set up your reamp levels, and then I went through reamping the training file that you should be using with NAM. Now, in terms of actually training that file, you saw me do the train locally. I didn't use Google Colab, but once again, check out the Jason Zdora videos. He goes through the stuff very well. And then lastly, you saw me do the test of the NAM trained file or the NAM capture file versus the real amp, and just how absolutely dead on they were when you did an A/B comparison. You're pretty much completely sold on NAM by this point. You're joining forums, you're launching a Kickstarter for a NAM pedal, you're just completely all into NAM at this point in time. So hopefully this video has been helpful. If you have any questions about NAM, setting it up, getting started, any questions about reamping, gain staging levels, there is a little bit of you know, user error that you can get yourself into. So just go through the video, maybe just rewind it, check it out if anything's confusing. But don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button on this video. Join my Discord, I'll leave a link down below, because asking there is going to be a really good way to get some feedback in real time. Of course, you can comment on the video. I'll try and answer these questions as best as I can. But look, something else that needs to be said is that NAM is it's an open source project, and updates are coming maybe not week to week, but like month to month. Things are getting better and better, and maybe processes change over time. So I will be doing some videos keeping up to date with NAM, because I really like what it's doing. But you know, if you have any questions about the state of NAM or how to do things, like I said, join Discord, ask in the comments below. It is an evolving project, so I'll try to keep up with it as best I can. It also needs to be said that everybody involved in NAM, whether you're like modding a Discord group, doing something on Facebook, uploading captures, just being part of the community in a positive way, doing dev, anything like that, you know, the community is actually a really good place. I'm a part of it. I across all things on forums, Discord, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, Steve Ack, the guy that, you know, kickstarted everything. And there's just so many people involved when it comes to these open source sort of projects. So just, you know, massive pat on the back to you. The technology is absolutely fantastic. The fact that we can do this stuff in our DAW and we're getting the results that we're getting is just like an amazing undertaking, and it's really truly going to shake up the guitar industry. I'm going to do some follow-up videos on what I think is going to be happening with guitar plugins, because this is definitely going to cause you know, quite a shake and stir on things. So as always, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.